All right, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We are back again, and as promised, guys, today we are talking about a very important topic, and we have a very, very important personnel with us today also. जैसे मैंने पहले कहा था कि the effect overall, which currently are prevailing right now of coronavirus COVID-19, are spreading wide and fast. बहुत ज़्यादा हैं, लेकिन the very important aspect to understand is, of course, the current global economic crisis which are going around, and a very important topic for DS Global is currently this time economical effects on energy markets kya hai. This is what we will be talking today. And when we were discussing about this topic, or we were trying to analyze what could be the right scenario of understanding, there are Pakistani markets, and of course there are international markets as well. And we need to understand both markets to be precisely analyzing that what could be the right scenarios, the right working. So we thought that we should bring on some expert, and आज का जो हमारा session होगा, we will try to make it very interactive, and we will try to make sure that it goes both ways. So very lucky today to have with us right from US DC हमारे साथ Rida Rizvi मौजूद है, and Rida is an energy analyst at the World Bank Group, and she is an inspiration for a lot of youth of Pakistan. She's an electrical engineer and a graduate from Yale, University of Yale, and needs no introduction, has an immense experience on working on global energy markets. So we thought to welcome Rida today and ask her about her journey and try and understand global and international markets. Not only talk about the technical stuff, but also look at Rida as a great inspiration for Pakistani youth and the changes that she is bringing in. So, Assalamu alaikum, Rida, and welcome.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. How are you?
I'm absolutely fine, and good to see you, first of all. Acha, before we go on the further things, मुझे ये बताइए कि रमजान मुबारक to you, and how is lockdown coming along? आप कहाँ हैं? कैसे जिंदगी गुजार रही हैं? किस तरह से जिंदगी तब्दील हुई?
Sir, lockdown, like I'm literally not going anywhere at all. Work from home चल रहा है अभी, और अभी रोजा है मेरा इस time, so let's see how things go. But right now I'm fasting, so it's
Okay.
not exactly
So, please tell us, तमाम लोगों को थोड़ा सा बताइए, Rida, I would like everyone to know what you're currently working upon. Where are you working? Of course, I've given your introduction, but we'd like to know that where precisely you're working, and then we will talk about your whole journey of life.
Yeah, sure. So currently I'm working at the World Bank in DC headquarters. I'm working with SMAP, Energy Sector Management Assistance Program team. My focus is basically on providing roadmaps, customized roadmaps to developing countries in a way that they can actually accelerate their renewable energy integration. So right now, since I'm an analyst, my work is more related to economic, financial analysis and grid side study, not very electrical side, but more towards economic side. So that's what I'm working on, and the focus countries right now are countries in sub-Saharan Africa and Pakistan as well. So
that's wonderful. Achha, Rida, before I go further towards the topic, how has COVID-19 lockdown affected DC, where you are right now? Overall, how is US right now? कैसी situation है America में? और आपको क्या problem face करनी पड़ी? People in Pakistan must be worried about you. So how are things right now?
I'm super worried. America, I don't watch news because I know it's absolutely horrible. Like it seems like everybody's dying in the US. But currently in DC, we have been asked to work from home from the president for past 2 months, almost 2 months. So we are not going out. People just go out for exercise or for walk. Other than that, I think things are pretty stagnant over here. I'm not going out except for probably grocery shopping or for a run. So
it's been last 1 month, last 1 month. How many times have you been out on the road?
I actually go once, at least twice a week. जिस पे मुझे बहुत डांट पड़ती है माँ बाबा से, लेकिन I still go out because it gets really depressing. So बस I need some fresh air and then I just go out. So
right, that's wonderful. Acha, for a lot of people who are watching us right now, Rida is a great inspiration. She comes from a background from Lahore, and एक ख्वाब देखने वाली लड़की, started from Lahore and she ended up in US, and what in US is now working in the World Bank. There could be no better inspiration stories than you, Rida. मुझे ये बताइए कि आपके सफर का आगाज कैसे हुआ? Tell me a bit of background from where you started. I
Mhm.
understand you did your engineering and environment
Yeah.
from NUST. थोड़ा सा मुझे बताएं, schooling, college, university. People would love to know that where
Yeah.
you've been studying and how does this journey come along?
Mhm. Sir, for me, actually, I would say my parents have been the biggest inspiration. Like, they have not stopped me from doing anything. Like, my mother, my father, they have like literally groomed us in a way कि कुछ और important नहीं है पढ़ाई के अलावा. So I actually went to Convent of Jesus and Mary. I did my O levels from there. Then I went to LGS. Since then, I have been on scholarship. So I literally have not been a burden on my parents since O levels. And then I went to NAS. I actually didn't want to apply to any place in Pakistan. मैं सिर्फ एक जगह पे apply किया था जो कि NAS था, and I didn't even prepare for it. So eventually, like, I found out that I got into NAST mechanical engineering actually in PNEC. But I chose my parents, and like we all decided that it's probably not a very, a field that I should be working on, and then I shifted to environment. और उस जमाने में like environment is still a thing, like in Pakistan, in a country like Pakistan, people think environment is not a thing. और उस जमाने में my chachu actually forecasted, he was like, it's going to be very important, it's happening in Australia, and he was like, you should definitely pursue environment. It was not very easy because in आपको पता है पाकिस्तान की market का, it was very hard to actually get a job in Pakistan. So I was actually inspired in my last 2 years in NUST by a professor, because we started working a lot on waste to energy systems. So I was working on biomass, and then one of my research projects was salinity gradient solar pond. So that was the point I decided, like, it has to be something related to clean energy because it is directly impacted by the environment. And that's how I did my my bachelor's from NUST. And then I applied for Fulbright, and then I came to you. You were my biggest mentor, my biggest inspiration. You actually gave me a chance when I knew literally nothing, and you, like, I remember, like, you had faith in me. और मुझे याद है आपकी वो कोटेशन जो आप हम सबको सुबह सुबह कराते थे ऑफिस स्टार्ट होने से पहले कि to get successful you need to understand that you know nothing, and that's from where you have to start off. And that has been something very important in my life, to know that I not knowing everything is very important. And even right now I feel कि जितना ज़्यादा आप educate होते जाते हो, you realize you don't know anything. So that
Yeah.
feeling has actually brought a lot of strive in me to keep working hard, to keep learning from people, regardless of who they're from, or whether they're junior or they're senior. So that was one thing. And then obviously then I worked with Premier Energy. You were my country head. We worked on a lot of various projects on renewable energy, on ECAP, our energy efficiency program. So you guided me through everything. And then during that period, during 1.5 years, I was applying to a lot of places for masters abroad. And then eventually I applied for Fulbright, and surprisingly I was called for interview, and then the journey started.
All right, Fulbright is fine, Rida. थोड़ा सा जो है ना वो आप उससे काम ले रहे हो. Fulbright is fine, but making into Yale, how big was it for you? मतलब how I can remember the time you got it because
Yes, I was
I,
crying.
I I was there and I saw it. How big it is. लोगों को नहीं पता है Yale का.
Yeah.
For all the people who are watching right now, what is the rate of getting into Yale? Please share कीजिएगा.
So basically, sir, America में 4-5 universities हैं who have acceptance rate, like Harvard or Yale का 6% है, Princeton का it's like 6.3%, and then rest of the universities. And especially like in universities like Yale, which is an Ivy League, they don't actually enroll a lot of international students. So the percentage was around 0.1%. So I don't know how I got this lucky, but there aren't a lot of international students. But my program actually ended up having a lot of international students. Like there were 50 people from different countries. But overall, 100 जो थे वो सब अमेरिका से ही थे. So
Right.
that's how.
So, making it to Yale. Now, मैं थोड़ा सा इस पे पढ़ना चाहूँगा. So, you graduated. We're coming towards the topic as well. You graduated from National University of Science and Technology, Islamabad. Environment was a passion. You worked in a renewable energy company. You gained experience. Then you went to Fulbright. In Fulbright, you gave your best attempt, and you ended up in Yale. Now that's a dream journey. ये तो बड़ा सुनने को और for listening it looks to be very good. But just tell me a brief about it. How tough was it? How tough was the whole process of Fulbright and everything?
It was, for me, it was very tough because I started like क्योंकि मैं job कर रही थी, so it was 9 to 5 job, and then I had to prepare for GRE. GRE is very tough because it's a momentum based test, so you have to like literally sit for 3 to 4 hours straight and prepare for the exams. So I remember my routine was कि मैं सुबह 4 बजे उठती थी, मैं 3 घंटे का टेस्ट डेली करती थी और फिर ऑफिस आती थी और फिर उसके बाद वापस जाके फिर से I had to, and it was like constantly applying for like this started happening like, and obviously, and I had a spreadsheet in which I had made a list of all the universities along with their deadlines. So it actually helped me a lot because I knew okay, every day I had a task to complete, and I started applying to each of the universities, and then वो LORs recommendation letters वो करना, और आप लोगों को पता है आपसे ली आपको सारी स्टेटमेंट ऑफ पर्पस बनाना, LOR or motivational letter. So it was quite a lot of work, and I think I don't remember like now I'm extremely at ease. It wasn't easy back then. Like I think I'd been working like for 19 to 20 hours a day. There were times like that.
That's wonderful and a great journey. And here you are. You're done from Yale. How was the experience? How many Pakistani were there, by the way, when you were at Yale?
सर मेरे स्कूल में उस टाइम नहीं था, लेकिन मेरी एक फ्रेंड है जिसका अभी पिछले बैच पे एडमिशन हुआ. देयर weren't a lot of Pakistanis. मेरे स्कूल में नहीं थे. I was the only one मेरे बैच में. Then so basically there was at least one person from each country, to be honest. And
That's
I was
wonderful.
one from.
So representing Pakistan at Yale, I'm pretty sure that your parents must be really proud of you.
I hope so. Yeah, I think they're always praising. They keep me at a very high pedestal. So yeah, I wouldn't have.
That's wonderful. For everyone who has joined in, Rida का एक हमने एक session रखा है. We'll be talking about international markets. You guys can drop in questions, and we will take in questions whenever possible. So just drop in if you're logged in from DS Global or Evolve, just drop in a question in the comment section. And for those who want to share any of the ideas or any thoughts, any questions with Rida about international markets, we'll be talking about that as well right now later. Right, Rida, wonderful journey you have been. You're a great ambassador of the Pakistani youths. Where you are right now, कि जिसमें for all the people who are watching right now, especially the youngsters, here is an example. हम लोग पाकिस्तान में बहुत सारी बात करते हैं. We talk about lack of opportunities, lack of the right direction or right path. So here is an example of a girl who comes from Lahore and has independently made it to DC, and now she's working in the World Bank, studying at one of the best universities of the world. A great example. Now, Rida, COVID-19 lockdown, how has that affected us, affected you, affected overall the world? First of all, my first question is how it has affected, before we go into the graphics, how it has affected the US economy overall. What are people talking about?
Sir, like a lot of people have been out of job, to be honest. Like, the moment government announced that they're going to give stimulus checks, a lot of people went to IRS and they registered as unemployed. So that's something that has really impacted. That has really impacted the US economy. हमारे यहाँ पे जो local जितने restaurants वगैरह they're not working. Uber हमारी नहीं चल रही. So like those people who were daily wagers, they're the ones who are extremely affected right now.
And I think the situation is much better in DC.
Situation Sir, I personally feel कि हम अभी मैं like इतनी shelled up इस वक्त situation में bubbled up में हूँ कि I probably wouldn't be able to comment कि क्या situation है, but the homelessness is increasing for sure. People are like being affected extremely by this. Like all daily businesses have literally come to a halt over here. So yeah.
All right, that's something which is definitely what. Right, Rida will be coming to some of the notes that have been prepared from your side also.
Yes,
If
sir.
we can have that on, so that we will be showing people about the different topics and different questions. Now, you understand or you bring on your main portfolio or main working has been about the global energy markets and
Yes,
everything.
sir.
Explain me a bit. You understand, or you work at the World Bank. You're looking at international energy markets right now. Before this COVID-19 came across, how are the things? You can bring on the data that we have on the screen to
Yeah,
show,
sure.
so that we can relate that. Also, impact of COVID-19 on international energy markets. Now, run through a bit to us. Tell us a bit about it.
Yes, sir.
How do you see what are the effects right now which have come across,
Yes, sir.
and how do you see the things going to be like? So, over to you right now for global economic effects of COVID-19, especially in energy markets.
Definitely. So right now, what you can see right now is actually data from BNEF, and there are a couple of projections from IMF as well. So they have actually run scenarios. Scenario one ये है कि अगर तो COVID एक single wave pandemic है, तो we are saying, and if the countries are actually deploying 3 months severe lockdown, there is a possibility that the countries can actually return back to their return to their growth by end of year 2020. Second
Hmm.
scenario and third scenario are basically के future forecasting projections हैं. If
Okay.
we encounter multi-wave pandemic, we are expecting कि global growth जो है वापस आएगी second quarter 2021, which is next year. Or agar if it's like it's still going ongoing, we are predicting that it might go up until end of next year, to actually for the entire country or for the entire world to go back to its economic growth. On the right side you can see actually the table that what IMF is actually predicting based on their
Mm-hmm.
projections. Overall world की economy जो है -3% होगी, और ये अभी बेस फोरकास्ट है। और
Uh-huh.
जो बड़ी इकोनॉमीज हैं, इमर्जिंग इकोनॉमीज, उनकी -6.5% है, चाइना 1.2 है। It is actually very interesting to say that the first time since like 5 to 6 years that China will have literally have the lowest GDP growth up until now, which will be like around 3.5%. And
Although they're not affected as bad as it looks like right now.
yes, exactly. But the thing is, because China is a global market and it's actually one of the major producers and suppliers, obviously उसका
जब
impact जो है
जब
उसकी बाकी market
जब
में
जब supply जब demand नहीं होगी तो
yes
supplies नहीं है, and that's why you think the Chinese market is going to shrink.
is going to replenish badly. Um, and if this pandemic is like अगर पूरा साल तक जाता है तो we can actually predict that in all of these 2020 projections there might be a reduction by 3%, and if it goes still
Mhm.
next year it's going to by 2021 there's going to be additional 8% economic losses. So that's something, and we can say it actually might be one of the few steps towards Great Depression. So for that, like just to quickly see, this is one scenario जिसमें हमने जो shocks हैं, we gave the pandemic shocks more towards South and countries like जो emerging markets में हैं. And this is what it happens. Like this is how the overall situation looks like. But if we look at the entire world and we're doing the projection, we're giving the shocks to all the countries, it actually reduces drastically. Like literally, Germany is reducing from 2.8 to 3.6%. US is reducing from 1.3 to 2.4%, and etc. So, and then should
Right.
should I
So
Should I tell a
So,
bit about Pakistan or? Okay.
all right, Rida, now that's a global perspective, how much the shrink in economies would be, and it shows. So before I go on to the next question, I want to ask the intellect in you to explain us people, does this shrink in economy means less jobs, people removed from the jobs?
Yes. So basically, what happens is if you look at GDP percentage, GDP is basically कि आपकी overall एक country में कितनी goods and services हैं, and it is regardless of whether it's owned by some international investor or it's by owned by a Pakistani or by a national. So what is overall happening is that the total number of goods, since the demand is reducing, the overall number of goods and the services are also reducing, and because of that the GDP growth is actually reducing, which is basically
Hmm.
kind of like the main indicator, and that is
Hmm.
related to global economic index, like sorry, income in GNI, global
Hmm.
national income, so that it
Yeah,
will
national
eventually
income.
impact the employment rate as well.
All right, and before we jump on energy discussions, I want to know which jobs you think or people in World Bank or people in DC are thinking this area is be the first one will be badly hit, because that I want to know what the people in US think, so that the impact is going to be in Pakistan. So which areas you think are going to be really hit hard?
Sir, honestly, it has actually started right now. Like जितने local businesses हैं, for instance, restaurants हैं, um, 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 again, like I said, Uber drivers जो daily wages हैं, construction है. Initially हुआ था कि construction जल्दी जल्दी कर रहे थे because they saw like there is no traffic, we can actually accelerate the construction thing, but now it's like reducing. So these are the people that we are seeing कि जो बिल्कुल lower tier में हैं. They are going to be
Hmm.
immensely affected by it. And then eventually it's going to go up, like फिर उसके बाद white collar jobs हैं जिनमें like private companies हैं who who are not getting enough revenue, and because of that they have to do some layoffs. तो वो फिर वो दूसरी tier आ जाएगी जिसमें white collar jobs हैं who will have to, like people are at a very low level who might have to leave their jobs, or who might be terminated, and then it
Yeah, because
keeps going up.
we have to understand. I'm pretty sure the next slide is about Pakistani market also. It is to understand for everyone that yes, for right now maybe हम एक understanding phase के अंदर हैं. Every organization is, every area is, every society is, but yeah, the real impacts are gonna come shortly, I think, if not already.
Yeah.
पाकिस्तान की बात करें, Rida, what are the figures for Pakistan?
So this is something like I quickly grabbed. Pakistan में state bank state bank ने projection की थी कि 3.5% होगी, but according to state bank after COVID it's going to reduce down to 3%. ADP is
Hmm.
projecting around 2.9. It was projecting initially 2.9% without COVID, and now it's going to go to 2.6%. और जो वर्ल्ड
Hmm.
बैंक है it actually big since like it's considering IMF की सारी restrictions and stuff. World Bank is projecting के 1.1% reduction होगी पाकिस्तान की. And if we like overall अगर हम इसको पूरा account for करें तो Pakistan will actually need $15 billion to overcome, like that's like the overall loss. And when we are talking about overall loss, इसमें हम shadow pricing भी ले रहे हैं, हम इसमें economic impacts के अलावा environmental impacts, social impacts भी ले रहे हैं. So like we are also considering health as one of the main factors, lifetime of people as one of the main factors to come up with this figure of $15 billion. But I know like
That's
the government has
yeah.
probably actually started with some stimulus checks में हाल से government ने start किए हैं, and I was looking at the figures that Pakistan is overall aiming for 6.7 billion to be actually given out to compensate
Yeah,
for
but the only positives, few of the positive news. We have a
yeah
comment from Rashid Khalid as well. मैं इसको show करूंगा Rashid sab in the latest thing, and we'll have a discussion. He's very
sure
optimistic. He's saying that things might be coming back. लेकिन the only positive is that पाकिस्तान ने जो loan repay करना है 1 साल के लिए उसका defer हो जाना. So that's a
yes,
positive sign.
that's a positive
Uh,
thing definitely.
oil prices coming down is a really positive sign. Like, and unfortunately, I was listening to Asad Umar. I had an interaction with him lately as well.
Yeah.
that unfortunately पाकिस्तान में oil को save reservoir करने की कोई बहुत ज़्यादा facilities नहीं है, and the only
Yeah,
probably only possibility right now is hedging या future buying के concept पे चले जाएं, but
exactly.
that's the situation. So that's few of the sides which might be a good story. All right,
Yeah,
so we want to know what is the impact it's going to have on overall energy market. So
yeah,
Rida, please
yeah.
tell us a bit more about it.
So,
I want to know about the electricity market's impact.
thank you, sir. So overall, what we are actually seeing is तीन चीजें हो रही हैं because of COVID. सबसे पहले तो we know कि आपकी consumption reduction हो रही है. Like people are अभी, if you can see from the graph, it's actually again from BNEF, and you can see कि countries are actually reducing down till -14%. which means कि आपकी electricity prices जो हैं, आपकी spot pricing और आपके contracts जो हैं, they are going to be deferred. आपकी eventually like आपकी जो utilities हैं, which are, we are going to talk more about it. Utilities are going to be immensely affected. आपकी working capital, आपकी cash inflows reduce हो जाएंगे. आपकी because there is a load growth uncertainty. Because of that, sir, since you are an electrical engineer, you would be able to tell कि उसमें आपकी grid में feed in करने पे issues होंगे. And then again, like consumption reduction की वजह से आप क्योंकि volumetric tariff layer, which is basically you are charging the customer per megawatt hour, that means कि आपकी ओवरऑल जो आपको रेवेन्यू मिल रहा है वो आपकी रिड्यूस हो रही है, and that is going to overall impact the entire electricity market. Um, and just to give an example, I came across this projection load graph of Mexico. As we can
Mm-hmm.
see, like normally it was supposed to be like around 40. अगर आप मई के अराउंड देखें तो it was projected कि around 38 gigawatt होना था. But because of the COVID, there is going to be a deficiency of further a 7 gigawatt, and which will actually result in further reduction. और इसकी वजह से load shavings हो रही हैं, and we are going to discuss more about how it's going to affect the distributors. But this is one of the main thing which is going to happen. Another very important thing is आपकी fuel prices में reduction और आपकी FX prices में. Uh, for those who don't know, like FX prices, whenever you sign up a contract, you have आपकी एक fixed cost होती है, आपकी एक variable cost होती है. Variable is basically आपकी O&M costs वगैरह, आपकी fuel costs और आपकी FX is आप किस उस पे आप indexing करते हो basically. आप एक particular currency में करते हो which is more stable. But right now what's happening
Yeah.
is that no currency is stable. So this is what it is going to do,
Mm-hmm.
and because of that, and obviously, जब आप fuel price or fixed prices की बात करते हैं, we're talking about auctions, we're talking about contracts, we're talking about power purchase agreements. So as you can see from the graph over here, we see that most of the countries are actually going for the construction will be continuing, but there is going to be a lot of disruption, and there are like factories are, you can see factories open, most of them are there, but they're also again with disruptions there. And then some of the most of you can see like most of the auctions are actually getting postponed. So this is another major impact of COVID. Because of the uncertainty, people do not want to get into auction prices, um, which
And
basically
then people don't want to get into auction prices due
yeah.
to currency dangers as well, currency risk as well, or overall the uncertainty element.
सर एक तो अनसर्टेनिटी है, फिर उसके अलावा क्योंकि ऑक्शन का होता है कि आपकी वो वेरिएबल कॉस्ट है, सो दे डोंट वांट टू कमिट
Hmm.
टू अ प्राइस दैट दे कैन नॉट डू इट. और एक और इश्यू भी हो रहा है कि आपके व्हेन यू लुक एट पावर परचेज एग्रीमेंट्स, दे हैव दिस रूल कि आपकी सीओडी से पहले आपको एक वो कॉस्ट आपको होती है, लाइक इफ यू डोंट गेट इट यू एक्चुअली स्टार्ट यू हैव टू पे फीस फॉर इट. So what is happening is right now कि लोग जिनका डिले हो रही है कंस्ट्रक्शन कॉस्ट, उसकी वजह से इट्स एक्चुअली इंक्रीजिंग देयर ओवरऑल एक्सपेंस. और क्योंकि वो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स
Hmm.
ऑलरेडी साइंड हैं, उसकी वजह से आपकी जो वो डेफिसिट है वो कंपनी की अपनी कॉस्ट ऑफ कैपिटल में आ रहा है. जिसकी वजह से again private जो IPPs and they are not willing to invest right now because it's a huge matter of uncertainty. So that is something that we can see is going to happen.
Okay. Hmm.
Um, okay. So this should we go on to
Yeah, so coming towards the utilities, now मैं अपने कुछ questions बाद में रखूंगा when the graphics are away. So COVID specific impacts on utilities. Please throw some light on that.
So, what is mainly happening, like because of all of this, the main people who will be impacted are basically the utilities. I actually got this graph for of the US of what is happening. लेकिन overall क्या हो रहा है, as we talked about कि revenue आपका lower down हो रहा है क्योंकि आपकी industry और commercial sales नहीं हो रही हैं. Because of which, like, if some people are saying that it is being compensated by residential sales, but as we know, like even in case of Pakistan, around 35% of our energy is being consumed by commercial and by industrial sector. So
Yeah.
you can see like there is a huge chunk which is being absolutely eradicated, which means कि आपकी revenue collection नहीं हो रही है. और उससे ये हो रहा है
Hmm.
क्योंकि बहुत सी गवर्नमेंट्स अब ये कर रही हैं कि उन्होंने कोविड की वजह से देर एक्चुअली पुटिंग डिलेज, लाइक वो 3 मंथ्स में आप कह रहे हैं कि आप पे कर लो, आपकी बिजली नहीं काट रहे अगर आप पे नहीं कर सक रहे हो. सो विच मीन्स कि आपकी ओवरऑल जो अभी करंट आपकी डिस्कोज हैं, डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन कंपनीज हैं और आपकी यूटिलिटीज हैं, दे आर नॉट गेटिंग अ लॉट ऑफ मनी इन हैंड, जिसकी वजह से आपकी जो
Yeah.
बैलेंस पेमेंट है वो आपकी नेगेटिव में जा रही है.
So you mean to say that the circular debt issue will even
Yes,
further rise?
it will further rise. Like it not just only because of collection of money, but overall because आपकी जिनसे आनी भी थी वो उनसे भी नहीं आ रही है. So it's going to rise even
Hmm.
further. And then
All right, and that's the main issue right now with the circular debt issue which is prevailing. You think that's going to be even in Pakistan for distribution companies?
yes, definitely because अब पाकिस्तान के ये कि पाकिस्तान का एक्चुअली थोड़ा सा ज्यादा इशू इस तरह से है कि जैसे ये कंपनीज हैं, ये मोस्ट ऑफ देम आर डी लाइक वर्टिकली वो हैं डिस्ट्रिक्ट वो हैं, लेकिन ये जो अब आप अगर पाकिस्तान की बात करते हो तो पाकिस्तान इज एक्चुअली नॉट प्राइवेटाइज, इट डज नॉट हैव अ होलसेल मार्केट, इट डज नॉट हैव अ रिटेल मार्केट. सो अभी जो भी इम्पैक्ट होगा वो स्टेट पे हो रहा है क्योंकि हमारी जो डिस्कोज
Hmm.
हैं और ये सारी हैं वो स्टेट पे उसका इम्पैक्ट होगा. एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट अगेन लाइक द स्टेट विल हैव टू suffer from this kind of revenue reduction.
So had it been an open market like it is in UK, where distribution companies are very open and you could buy from anyone,
Yeah.
monopoly नहीं है, government-owned companies नहीं है, so the burden on government could have been less.
Could have been less also. Like अगर आप रिटेल मार्केट की बात करते हो तो आपके बेसिकली होता है यू इट इज कंपल्सरी लाइक डिस्पैच में कि आपको टेक और पे होता है. लेकिन अगर आपकी रिटेल मार्केट हो, होलसेल मार्केट हो, यू कैन एक्चुअली सेल एंड यू कैन बाय इट ऑफ एज वेल. लाइक अपनी कमोडिटी आपकी कोई और ले लेगा. So right now what is happening is कि since we don't have that market, we don't see how exactly like गवर्नमेंट ने जिनसे डिस्पैच अग्रीमेंट्स की हुई थी उनको अब उनसे ले भी नहीं रहे हैं और उनको पे भी करना है. So that is going to be
Mm-hmm.
like a major issue with developing countries.
Yeah, because now that's now again sometimes you have to understand that कुछ ऐसे decisions the government लें जैसे privatization as much as possible even in the distribution setup could be so helpful for Pakistani market. So I remember when I lived in Scotland, so I had a flat जिसमें मेरा मीटर जो था उसमें एक USP लगती थी जिसमें मैं बिजली परचेज करता था. I used to go into the shop and ask them, okay जी, I want to buy electricity worth 20 pounds, so which one is cheaper? तो वो मुझे कहते थे कि जी स्कॉटिश पावर का ये रेट है, इसका ये रेट है, which one do you want to buy? So
Yeah.
now that had that been the case, then the situation could have been a lot less on government of Pakistan.
Exactly. Even like in the US, we have ISOs. आपकी मर्जी, you can actually connect with to any of the suppliers और like उससे ये भी फायदा होता है कि एक तो आपकी diversity आती है आपके energy mix में. There are a lot of people who would prefer to actually buy green energy. So because of that,
Yeah.
like you are actually promoting renewables as well. So again, like since we actually have it, sir, आपको बेहतर पता होगा वैसे, लेकिन I think we have it in Energy Act of Pakistan 2002 में या इस तरह से 2012 में हुआ था. Okay,
Yeah. I think it was 2012. It is already there, but yeah, how much is the implementation? That's what matters.
yeah,
Rida, I've been bombarded with questions, so that's
okay,
why we will move on, and I'll ask questions to you in the
yeah,
end
sure.
as
If
well.
I know the answers, sure. Okay, so should we go further?
Yeah, we can go further.
सर एक और चीज भी मैंने
So,
यूटिलिटीज का एक और इश्यू भी होना है कि कुछ जैसे कंट्रीज में जिसमें बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग रेगुलेशंस हैं उनमें ये हो रहा है कि ओ एन एम एक्सपेंसेस ज्यादा होंगे बिकॉज बिकॉज दे हैव टू मेक श्योर कि जो आपकी एस एल एज आपने साइन किए हुए सर्विस लेवल एग्रीमेंट्स उस पे आप सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग के लिए आप proper equipment though that is going to be additional O&M cost and of course like as we discussed project delays होंगे so that's
yeah,
something that we need to look
yeah,
into.
expected. That is expected. Projects will be delayed.
Yeah.
So, peak demand patterns के अंदर, you said may not align with the long-term commodity contracts. You think that's going to be the case? Commodity contracts के जो long-term agreements हैं, उसके साथ demands उसके accordingly नहीं होंगी. Now, that's
Yes.
going to be a really big problem for utilities.
Exactly. That's going to be a big problem because उनकी वो deficiency होगी like revenues मिल नहीं रहे होंगे but they'll still have to pay to जिसमें like come on further like उसमें वो default payment risk होता है और वो फिर आपका trigger होता है और उसको आप mitigate करने के लिए international market क्या करिए we'll talk about it.
Right. Okay. Let's move on.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So basically, these are like we tried dividing our solutions in four different aspects. Um, so one is contractual, the other is financial, physical, and macroeconomic fiscal. What is
Yeah.
happening with contractual, which I personally believe is a more feasible solution, is कि आप arbitration start कर दें instead of doing like a lot of countries like developing countries they're going for force majeure like they're going for their termination rights but it even if it's tempting it might disturb the overall energy market so instead of that like another possible solution could be to increase the terms of agreement for instance south africa में जितनी भी renewable energy market hai they have actually started increasing their ppa prices so which like their ppa tenor so अगर आपका year ज्यादा हो रहा है it means कि आपकी वो अभी अगर defer हो भी रही है payment you can go on for later years and then
So, do you think that is very realistic approach because already long-term agreements with sovereign guarantees, etc., has already been done. So, isn't it a very tough ask?
it is actually but it will still be way better than terminating the entire contract and then because if for instance if it's a matter of 1 year or maybe 6 months after that like there's going to be another like फिर से वो contractual होगा delay होगा फिर legal requirements होंगी and then deployment of the equipment so that is actually more it's going to be in long term it's going to be more difficult so if
Rida, I have a very important question which I'm going to write down, which is related to us and you and everyone is future of renewables. I'll come back to it later.
okay
First, I want to get done. This is very, very interesting.
yeah.
And for everyone who is watching, I think this is the crux of the solutions. Please proceed.
Another thing is कि अब हमारे कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स में ये होता है a lot of the countries जो कि फॉरेन एक्सचेंज इंडेक्सिंग कर लेती हैं वो अपनी पीपीए प्राइसेस की तो
Yeah.
what we can do is like we can actually since it's a time of it's a time of pandemic we can actually go back to our contracts and we can revise our foreign exchange adjustments आप अपनी indexing clauses को adjust कर सकते हो for now so that's something again like this is all contractual it's going to be on basis of negotiation it's not going to happen that it's not going to be कि कोई एक पार्टी को कॉम्प्रोमाइज नहीं करना पड़ेगा since it's public private partnership there has to be compromise from both ends and then again another possibility is कि जो regulators हैं वो अपनी curtailment rights को like उसको दोबारा they'll have to look into it कि for instance
Mhm.
अगर फॉर इंस्टेंस अगर आपकी आईपीपी है उसने आपकी एनर्जी मिक्स में अगर देयर इज अ सर्टेन परसेंटेज ऑफ रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी दैट नीड्स टू बी देयर तो आपको प्रोबेबली आपकी गवर्नमेंट को curtail करनी पड़ेगी so that is also
Mhm.
that we need to look into and
But a related question, with the percentage of renewables, it's very less right now. So do you think it's still something which has to be curtailed?
So actually, like in a lot of cases, like if you're talking about globally, like आपके renewable energy portfolios होते हैं, and a lot of developed countries they actually have like 20-25%. तो उनको अगर आप curtail, like अगर आप for a particular amount, like आप curtail maybe renewables को ना करो, you can look into oil or other thermal आपकी जो because thermal का issue ये होता है कि it's more variable pricing, so which is dependent on the oil pricing. So if we can like
Yeah, but
cut them
right now with oil pricing being very less,
yes,
so yeah, this is gonna be altogether a very different
yes,
market.
it's going to be very difficult. So and there is a possibility जो एक hoteling curve होता है कि जिसमें होता है कि आप renewables eventually आप consume करने लगते हो और आपकी oil और आपकी जो fuel consumption है वो ज़्यादा होने लगती है. So it actually because of the reduction in oil prices there is a high possibility कि आपकी renewables जो हैं consume होना reduce हों for now. जिसके लिए we
Yeah,
are
but on the other side, people talking about Mother Nature healing and etc.
yeah.
But these are all sentiments, and markets are not run by sentiments. Am I right?
Definitely. Yeah, but the thing is like for renewables, if we see okay, it's actually if you look at it in hindsight, it will actually help in promoting renewables as well in some way. कि उसकी वजह से there's a possibility कि prices और reduce हों. आपकी PPA prices जो कि इतनी ज़्यादा थी, which have reduced drastically. Like अभी recently Abu Dhabi की कोई 1 cent पे per kilowatt megawatt or something हुई है. तो like it can definitely reduce. But again, it's for time being it's going to be like a hoteling curve in which like आपकी there's a high possibility कि आप oil ज़्यादा use करना शुरू कर दो as a commodity because it's getting cheaper.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we are
Okay.
going towards financial side. So financial में एक आपको off taker है और एक आपकी generator है. Off taker के लिए कि आप उनको like one thing which has actually been practiced in Brazil is that they're doing a pool of investors, and what they're doing is कि आपकी investment आप एक नई टर्म्स लाओ जिसमें एक कैश और रिजर्व अकाउंट्स हो जिससे आप
Hmm.
मनी आप बेसिकली ले सको on lower terms, on lower debt terms. So that is something which is happening. It's basically going to encourage a lot of investors to pull in, and what is Anil doing. और उससे आप फिर आप
Hmm.
जो आपका डिफिसिट है करंट आपकी बैलेंस शीट में उसको आप cater for करो through that. So
And yeah. And since we're moving on, how about the financial, microeconomics, and fiscal?
yeah, sure. So, macroeconomic and fiscal is going to be it's going to be mainly from the regulator side. कि आप जो government है, again, I don't think this will apply to Pakistan because it's a state owned utility. लेकिन a lot of international markets are doing is that they're providing um, the cash inflows to these generators from themselves, and they're trying
Hmm.
कि उसकी वजह से उनकी जो cash imbalance है उसको cater for कर सकें. Also like physical market में physically भी आजकल a couple of countries what they're doing in IPPs जो कर रही हैं, what they're doing is कि they're selling off their equipment and they're selling off retail markets. आपकी wholesale market में वो आपकी commodity को sell off कर रहे हैं. And actually like again in case of Brazil they're focusing a lot on hydro right now because this way they can store the electricity for later usage. So hydro hydro consumption might actually increase. So that is something that we are seeing will happen.
Interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. So moving on, Rida.
Yes, sir. So should I So since
Yeah.
we've been talking about so many negative, like so many problems, I'm sure we should have come up with some problems as well, some solutions as well. So these are a couple of risk mitigation instruments that currently it's happening in international markets. We have reserve accounts, we have cost recovery trackers, we have mutual aided agreements, we have securitization, and we have insurance. So
So
basically,
I can understand the other points. I am sure other participants are cost recovery trackers. Tell me
yes.
a bit about that.
So basically what happens is cost recovery tracker में कि आपकी जो utility है वो आपको अभी जितनी आपकी they go for a goal like उन्होंने revenue एक उनका goal था that they had to achieve, and what they do is that over eventually they use that goal to put into your pricing into your O&M costs. And then another
Hmm.
thing which is interesting is कि वो फिर इस तरह से हो रहा है जैसे around 24 states in the US have actually started doing that. They've started decoupling. So what they're doing is कि or instead of doing it per energy, what they want to see is like it's going to be per megawatt, like it's going to be a block tariff. So
Oh,
this way they are doing their cost recovery के eventually आप उसको like short term में तो आप कर लो like reduce कर लो, but then they go on and they put it in the O&M, which is again like if
right,
you look at
right.
it from the public perspective, it's going to be very hard. It's going to get more expensive eventually, but this is what a lot of utilities in the US and in other developed markets are doing, and that is actually
Yeah.
been practiced
Okay.
as
For all the people who are watching us right now, since these are very, very important, knowledgeable people, especially for the DS Global market also, we'll continue on after even 10 because there is some very interesting discussions. For those who want to ask Rida any questions, drop in the comment section. We already have a lot of questions, Rida. Once we are done with your
well.
presentation, then we will come towards some specific questions that people have asked.
Yeah. Okay. Um, should we continue or should we go
Yeah,
to
yeah,
the
you can continue on and proceed to the closure of the presentation. Then we will come towards the specific questions.
so yeah, so another interesting like securitization insurance, these are all like securitization is कि आप bonds रख रहे हो, utility bond रखती है कि कोई issue हो तो वो bond consume हो जाए. Insurance is again कि again which is not going to happen in developing markets. It's happening in developed countries कि utilities actually have their insurance and they use insurance in case of like hurricanes आते हैं. Florida में तो FPL has been using that. Another important thing is reserve accounts, but reserve accounts. This is something I would like to focus on for developing countries. Reserve accounts अभी हमने recently किया है सिंध में SSCP में solar park के लिए. Reserve accounts is basically कि आप there is certain amount जो कि आप एक third party के रखते हो for 6 months. आपकी पेमेंट्स होती हैं तो इन केस ऑफ एनी डिफॉल्ट इन पेमेंट रिस्क इन पेमेंट्स this is where the reserve account is triggered and that's where it compensates for your cost losses. Other than that जो मैं developing countries के लिए what we can look at is cost recovery tracker which we have already discussed. Mutual aid agreements is के a lot of the countries who have utilities they have this mutual agreement कि अगर कोई इस तरह की shortage होती है या if they want to sell off their asset तो वो आप mutual aided agreement के through you can sell it off from one utility to another in case ताकि आपकी market में liquidity increase हो.
Say,
So
say, yeah.
so this
Now
is
this is something. Right now, I would like presentation this point पे conclude करें. What to expect? Short term क्या होगा? Long term क्या होगा? Rida?
So, sir, again, as we discussed, short term is there's going to be then utilities need sufficient cash, and for that they will be needing new debt, which again means कि जैसे Brazil is doing आप मिलकर pool banao of debts and you start doing that. It's called project financing, and you can do that. Another issue things that the utilities plan on doing is they're selling their plant assets, which has actually been done somewhere in Minnesota. Another thing is that which applies to a lot of regulators is that they can actually give access to the capital to these markets so that they can actually like use that capital for now to recover from the expenses of the pandemic. What is going to happen long term is again cost recovery tracker which we were discussing. It's going to be कि आपकी जो top tier of आपकी जो consumer है, it might have be most affected and there might be an added tariff to those particular consumers. And again and another thing will be O&M costs, which is basically कि आपकी आप overall O&M costs आपके contracts में ज़्यादा pricing हो जाएगी in order to cater for the expenses that you weren't able to do cater for initially. So this is what we can expect in long term by the utilities.
Yeah.
This is,
Right,
yeah.
right. So that's wonderful, Rida, for the great insights that you have given to us. I think Rida has already explained a lot of important concepts how energy markets are going to be like, and things are going to be. There is a lot of people in here. From the technical side, we come towards question and answers. So drop in your messages for those who want to ask and want to know about it. There are different comments which have been made as well right now. So I have a question, Rida, and maybe perhaps you can give an input. Asad Kamal
Yeah.
is this question. Please tell about which business sectors in Pakistan are least affected by COVID and can
Okay.
create opportunities for business. I know it's a very specific question,
Yeah.
but still a very any generic answer. What do you think? Overall, I think international markets could relate into the same scenario.
Yeah, definitely. So which business sectors? I would say banking is something that's not going to be affected at all. But in fact, I think in a lot of cases, banking में उनकी debts leverage ज़्यादा बढ़ रही है. They're getting more interest rates and stuff. So it is actually going to be a stronger market for the banking sector, and can create opportunities for business. For business, I would say like again like it's a great time of uncertainty, like, and eventually, like, I know, like, आपकी health market है, उसमें आपकी products जो कि नहीं थी पहले, because a lot of countries like even Pakistan, they're dependent के अगर कुछ होगा बुरा तो then they're going to start producing. So we can see
Yeah,
over
that's
here
something which is
yeah, so we'll see like a huge increase in medical equipment and stuff like that. So
right. Now, similarly, Rashid Khalid gave a comment as well. Trade of commodities and new business corridors are something which the world is looking at. New business
definitely,
corridors. Now,
yeah,
that's a very related one as well.
yeah.
Rida, I want to give you a bit of surprise as well. We
Okay.
already have been discussing hardcore topics. चलें ये तो एक market है. थोड़ा सा वापस उस topic की तरफ आते हैं. Rida का सफर. I have a bit of surprise. I picked a few pictures from your about you, and John Kerry had actually shared few pictures. So tell me a bit about this. That's a surprise I wanted to give you.
Okay.
I want to know about the real Rida making wonders in the world. Tell me, where was this when this guy happened to take a picture with
So
such
basically,
beautiful
John
girls?
Kerry is one of the alumni of Yale, and there's this thing called John Kerry Initiative. So John Kerry के साथ हमारी एक I was working with him under his initiative on carbon charge project, which was basically carbon pricing of Yale buildings. So overall, we were working on carbon pricing, and he was there, and I went, and I was like, I'm from Pakistan,
So I can safely say Rida shared the same institution as John Kerry did,
and Hillary Clinton, and couple of
and Hillary Clinton as well. They
Indira
must be very
Gandhi.
proud. Both of them must be very proud.
Yeah.
Okay, now tell me a bit about this picture. It's an inspiration for everybody who's watching.
So actually for the first time in history, UN ने अब youth को General Assembly में for climate change बुलाया था. So these
Yeah.
are basically people from literally all over the world. This is youth from who were selected by the UN to come and be present in the General Assembly and do climate change advocacy. So these are a couple of very smart people that I happened to meet during that time.
Wonderful, wonderful. And to be a part of this great lobby or great team was wonderful. Here you are in the Ghana or Ghana Road, was it? Like something
Ji.
project?
So basically, I was actually given it was one of my capstone projects. I was given funding to work on Ghana's renewable energy roadmap. So this is actually he's Minister of Renewable Energy in Ghana. His name is Mr. Wisdom. I can't pronounce the other part. So I was there
Yeah.
to meet with people of the ministries over there.
Yep, yep, that's wonderful as well. And I'm pretty sure this is in front of Yale.
Yeah.
For everybody who's watching, for all the girls out there who are watching, and I precisely asked my nieces to come and join in. That's how the dreams are achieved. Standing in front of Yale University School of Forestry and Environmental Studies, a girl who comes from Lahore, studies, gets Fulbright, goes to Yale, and graduates from there. What a proud moment was this for you, Vida?
Thank you, sir. Actually, you chose a very interesting picture because it has all the Fulbright scholars from all over the world. So one is from India, the other is from Madagascar, the other is from New Zealand, and the other one is from Barbados. So it's actually it was a very proud moment. Like it was.
And all of them took environmental studies as the subject of specialization.
So basically, what happens in our school is कि different specializations होती हैं. Even if you're doing one of them is MESC, environmental science. I was MEM. The other one is doing environmental law, and the fourth one is doing business and environment. So it's basically a lot of we have a lot of courses and different specializations. So
Brida, so I already on that Halima Sadia just gave a comment. Wow, it's Yale,
thank you so much.
right? Okay, so moving on. Hey, here you are with the Pakistani Amin Aslam as well. What was the one advice you gave him?
No, I didn't give him. He's very smart. He's studied, he's done the same degree. I met him in COP 25, जो कि अब COP last year Poland में. So he was there. He was representing Pakistan. And he's actually studied from Oxford. He did the same degree as mine, environmental management. So I actually learned a lot from him. So it was an interesting meetup.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
here you are at this
So
was.
this is actually in 2017. It's born. I was given badge from Yale to go to climate change conference, UN climate change conference. So it's COP 24 or something. COP 23 actually.
Wonderful. No, that's really wonderful and really
So,
inspirational. Rida, I got you're able to manage. There have been so many comments from your family also. I have Manaz as Rizvi saying it's nice, Rida. People are talking about it. Tell me a bit of that. Being a Fulbrighter, you must be the icon of the family. People look towards you. People ask you for advice. Yeah.
sir, it's yeah, definitely, but I wouldn't say icon. Like everybody's super amazing in my family as well. Everybody's super smart, and I'm happy to like help my cousins and my sisters in any way possible. So
Yeah,
yes,
that's all.
I
So,
wouldn't
guys,
say
we will
I'm
continue
like
on for next 15 minutes. We will ask questions to Rida. So, drop in your questions and ask whatever you think right now is going to be the next thing. All right,
I
now we have talked about impact of electricity in different scenarios, Rida, right now. Um, Energy, and let's focus upon renewables as well. ये renewables की market किस तरफ जा रही है? You have been studying very Pakistani market very closely. How it's going to be the renewables next? What are the opportunities which will come along?
definitely. So, what I can see right now, like जिस तरह से wind, onshore wind, जिस तरह से solar, ये सारी जो auctions जो हो रही थी, जिनकी हमने COD expect की थी in couple of these months, they have definitely like reduced, and they have
I
been
don't know
delayed.
whether that's a correct comment or not, but somebody was telling me that the funding which was going from World Bank for SEN might be utilized for emergency purposes and other scenarios. Priorities have changed, is it?
Like I'm not exactly sure जो current हमारे project जो पाकिस्तान में हम दे रहे हैं for energy, they're still there because they are वो already country partnership होते हैं and it's always like it's already there. So I think it's not
Yeah.
going to be the case, hopefully.
So, Rida, I have a questions coming in. Aman is asking, you previously said that the thing about being uncertain. So, what is the advice to the students who are currently confused about choosing your career path? Now,
Hmm.
as I said कि हम थोड़ा सा टेक्निकल से रिदा की सक्सेस स्टोरी पे क्लोज करेंगे क्वेश्चंस को. Uncertainties in career choosing path. Did you ever thought that you're going to be environmental engineer from the very first, or sometimes you leave it upon God as well? So what
Sir,
was your recipe?
Sir, honestly, I don't think like but I know it's a very technical session and informal. Like, I would say like you cannot achieve anything without a will of Allah. और एक चीज जो मैं सबको कहती हूँ, अपनी बहनों को भी और सबको कहती हूँ, सूरह फतह मैंने बहुत रेगुलरली पढ़ी है. सूरह फतह इज लाइक इन 26 पारा, सो दैट्स समथिंग लाइक हैविंग कि आपकी इंटेंशन सही हो, यू द इंटेंशन इज कि सर्विंग पीपल ऑफ अल्लाह, एंड इट एक्चुअली it opens ways in so many there are paths which are open like you never even thought of. So having tawakkul, reading Surah Fatah is very important. And as for being confused that Aman is talking about, I think you are everybody is confused. Even for me right now, I see like ke acha main ab ye karu ya na karu, because the more you go in depth, the more you realize okay, you need to learn more about it. So what is important is like networking is very important, talking to people who you see you aspire to become. And for me, like one of them was also Sardanyal. So like talking to them and understanding what is happening in the market and what skill set you basically need, like asking objective questions to people कि आप ऑब्जेक्टिवली पूछें कि मैं ये करना चाहती हूँ, what skill sets are people looking for, and that is where your journey begins, your aim begins, like this is the pathway I want to take. And that's how.
Rida, now that's a very related question. जरा पाकिस्तान के बच्चे बच्चियों को बताएं. समटाइम्स हम लैक ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटीज पे बहुत बोलते रहते हैं, पाकिस्तान में अपॉर्चुनिटीज नहीं है. या आपने किसी किसी ने आके आपको कान में बताया था फुल ब्राइट पे अप्लाई करें, या किसी ने आके किस तरह से बताया था? हाउ, प्लीज प्लीज टेल दिस किड्स दैट द वर्ल्ड इज फुल ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटीज.
सर एक चीज जो मैं नोटिस करती हूँ वो ये है कि मुझे लोगों ने कहा था एनवायरमेंटल इंजीनियर तुम्हें जॉब नहीं मिलेगी, एंड आई डिड इट. लाइक इट्स जस्ट कि आपको if you have the ability you can actually talk, like it's just कि you have to create options. बहुत सी चीज तवक्कुल भी होती है कि आप अल्लाह पे छोड़ दो बहुत सी चीजें, but you have to make sure that no stone is unturned. So for me it was like a lot of like scholarship network, a lot of other people जिनसे मैं contact में रही. I literally applied every single place I could think of. I had my entire week scheduled कि मैंने किस किस जगह पे कब कब अप्लाई करना है, किन किन लोगों से पूछना है, getting my SOPs and everything checked. So it's just like you have to constantly try, and you have to like constantly, you know, like there is no such thing कि opportunity नहीं है. पाकिस्तान में भी opportunity है, अगर नहीं है तो you create one. You talk to people, you make them see what you have, like you like, and you can show them that you actually can become an asset to their company, which actually happened with Sardanyal actually. So that is something like you just have to make sure that you like, but there are a lot of companies, they might not even have, they might not be hiring, but they see that passion in you and they open up that opportunity. Okay, theek hai, like let's give her this opportunity, we might not want to lose her. So it's all about contacting people, networking, reaching out to at the right time to get like a proper hold of opportunities and creating some.
राइट. रेदा, फुलब्राइट जर्नी, फुलब्राइट पे आपने अप्लाई किया. I want in a very small, very specific answer, if you can narrate the journey. How long is the process? Young girls and boys take you as an inspiration, working on this from Fulbright to working on World Bank and being such. Now today, some of the facts which you have shared actually have really been at the highest class and the highest level. Explain these guys how is a Fulbright process. I know things might change because of this
Yeah,
COVID-19, but overall, what are the things that people or the Fulbright team looks at, and how many other Ridas who are out there
yeah.
looking at their dreams could listen to you and get inspiration? I want you to be very precise, specific about it.
Definitely. So for Fulbright, most important thing लोग कहते हैं GP अच्छा नहीं है, GRE अच्छा नहीं है. नहीं, get done with your GRE, 300 plus आए, that's fine. GP is also normal, अगर आपका 3 तक है, that's fine. It doesn't matter. What really Fulbright is looking for is like people who can actually make an impact in Pakistan, who want to like for instance for me, I had done so much like before applying for Fulbright, I had done a lot of market study of energy of Pakistan. और फिर मैंने उसका एनालिसिस किया था, कंपैरेटिव एनालिसिस किया था with what is being offered in the US. So that is one thing which is super important, that in your statement of purpose you show that you're not going just for the sake of getting Fulbright or just for the sake of going abroad. It's more like you want to learn and you actually want to bring something back to your country, and contribute in some way possible.
Similarly, for the Fulbright as well, how difficult it is from Pakistan and making up at Yale, universities like Yale. Please tell us about that. Is it easy, difficult to make it to the best universities?
So Fulbright की objective ये होता है they want to send as many people as possible. So if universities like Yale, Harvard, or like these Ivy Leagues, especially like even in Columbia, there were a lot of people like in Columbia was giving funding to them. So Yale basically cost cutting करने के लिए prefer करता है कि वो state universities में भेजे बच्चों को. So in my case, I really had to convince them. Like I literally made a spreadsheet and मेरी जहाँ जहाँ बाकी 3 जगहों पे उन्होंने चूज की हुई थी कंट्री यूनिवर्सिटीज उससे मैंने एनालिसिस किया था मैंने कहा था कि दिस इज व्हाट माय स्टडी ऑब्जेक्टिव इज एंड दिस इज येल इज दी लिटरली दी ओनली प्लेस that can actually provide me with that opportunity. तो I literally convinced them कि मुझे पे इतने पैसे लगा ले आप 1.5 2 लाख डॉलर. So it was you have to convince them.
Wonderful, wonderful. Rida, many people talk about अभी तो आपने बताया कि जब आप
Yeah.
ग्रेजुएट हुई जब आप जा रही थी तो environmental engineering जॉब नहीं मिलेगी काम नहीं होगा you won't be able to make it.
Yeah.
पाकिस्तान में प्रॉब्लम ये होता है कि नेगेटिव पिक्चर देखने वाले लोग थोड़े से
जी.
ज्यादा हैं पॉजिटिव
Yeah.
होती भी है तो कम देखते हैं तो एनवायरमेंटल इंजीनियरिंग a career option please clear the myths around
Yes.
how what
It's I think it's amazing. Like NUST offers a great bachelor's degree, and thing is, environment it's happening. Like climate change crisis are happening. Nothing like business, हर चीज ये सब कुछ खत्म हो जाएगा. But what is happening is climate change, and it to be honest, like now it's even affecting countries like Pakistan. आपकी AQI देखें कितना high है and all of these things. So environmental engineering is I personally think it was a very important decision that I made because it's a niche market. You get so much more scope to study, but up to in fact it's not even niche anymore now. जब मैंने की थी तब it was niche, but even now you still have a lot of scope of learning, making contributions, research, capstones. So environment is something that definitely we should be looking into.
Rida, generally I don't ask this question, but I
Yes.
have to in context to Pakistani context. Um, I can understand when you went out there, it's a different world altogether. But does like what was the obstacles being a female that you had to face in Pakistan, which I think became later
Mhm.
on became your strength and power. So throw some light on that.
Sir, बहुत हैरानी की बात है लेकिन मुझे ऐसा सच नहीं हुआ. Like it's very surprising कि मुझे लेकिन इतना कोई like just because I was a girl nothing happened because probably because the male figure in my family, my father, he never literally discriminated. He doesn't care if he didn't care if I was a girl or if I was a boy. He knew I wanted to achieve something and he was like there for me. But I think like I know like I've met a lot of girls जिनका होता है कि they get a lot of pressure from the family कि there is a certain age in which you should be getting married. There is a certain age you should be learning how to cook and doing stuff like that, and not putting a lot of emphasis on your mental growth, on actually contributing to the society, because we are talking about 50% of the population of the world, and just the thought
Right.
that 50% of the population is expected not to pursue their dreams and not to actually make an impact in the world is something which is happening in our society, and like which has to be changed. Like this mindset has to be changed. It can be done in all Islamic laws. It can be done in all like in a decent manner. You can still achieve your education. You can do everything, but it's just that the people around you need to put trust on you. And I would say like my
Right.
entire family was amazing. Like Baba, my Dada, Dadi, everybody, like everyone, my pupus, chachus,
Right. Right. Now,
everyone.
Rida, generally talking about your career, such glad to see that the family have been such a big support to you and working. Please tell
Thank
me
you.
about this amazing picture.
Thank
Who
you.
are the people who are behind in making you what you are right now?
Thank you. These are my parents, my father and my mother, and my two younger sisters who are way smarter than me. So they are the
How
people
much?
like
So I honestly, when your father would be looking at your journey, they must be very proud of it. Please tell me how much of proud you are that when you realize that we have made your parents proud. I think there is no better feeling in the world than this. What do you think?
Yes, sir. I actually don't like thinking about it because it just if I think about it, it just makes me think कि मैंने अब बस achieve कर लिया अब आगे नहीं करना. So I just think like it's just one of the many milestones that have been achieved. But I think it's happy. Like I feel like really happy. Like when I see Ma Baba there, like they get all emotional and they start crying and stuff when they look at me and so. But yeah, but obviously like I wouldn't have done it without them. Yeah.
That's wonderful as well. Now, Rida, we're coming towards the conclusion of the session as well. There are many youth and youngsters who are listening to you right now. What is that one message that you would like to give to the youngsters out there who want to make a career, want to make a name for themselves? Uh, what is that one thing that they should never forget? And yes, success is going to be there for them.
Sir, one thing is like um being determined, like and having a target. And target should not be economic. In my if you're passionate about something, you don't think about money. You don't care what is happening. When people are passionate about something, they're looking at greater good. They're talking about serving the society. They're talking about serving um message of God. They're looking at something which is way beyond their own personality. So what is really important in our youth is to have that passion in them to make an impact in the world. And it shouldn't be कि मैंने बहुत famous होना है, मुझे पैसे चाहिए. It has to be something which may way more bigger than that to get that drive. So that's something I would say, like you should have some passion in life. It's very good for your
Right.
mental health as well.
Right, Rida. A lot of people ask this. The best part about you is that you don't want to think about the things in which tell you that you are successful already or you want to make. Rida, I want to ask you a very specific question. What is the
Yes.
definition of success for you? One, and where do you see Rida in the next 5 years? Apart from being married and settled, I don't know whatever your plans are.
Yeah.
But where in the career Rida is looking at? What is the definition of success for you?
So for me, success is like it's a bit religious, like, but I think for me success is having making the world a better place so that Imam Mehdi, when he comes, he can actually contribute and being able to do something which can help one of the messengers of like Allah to, like what he envisioned. So for me, like since my ability is probably to be able to think about environment or climate change crisis, that's what I think, like helping people out, helping society, and doing like using my brain in some way possible to actually make this world a better place. Um, so yeah, that's what I
Wonderful.
think.
And next 5 years, 10 years, where are you right now? It's a very
So
difficult question.
it's a very difficult question, but inshallah, in next 5 years, I think I would like to come back to Pakistan and actually like hopefully if there are enough opportunities for me and actually start off with some again like अब क्योंकि मैं अब कितना ग्लोबलाइज लाइक मैं ऐसे डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज में कर रही हूँ अफ्रीका में इधर और साउथ एसएआर में so now eventually once I've learned a lot I would like to come back and actually serve Pakistan inshallah.
Right. That's what was my last question. I remember my time.
Yes.
There were opportunities. I spent good bit of time and then came back and started impacting lives. There was never a better feeling that to impact lives than this. So yeah, that's what my last question was as well. How do you plan to contribute back to the country which has made you what you are right now?
Yes, I personally think I'm still working on Pakistan, so I am doing a bit of my contribution right now as well. Like, and eventually, like I don't know how the situation is. Like, and eventually, I would like to work in one of the ministries and actually do work on something for Pakistan. Mainly like in climate change and I see like पाकिस्तान की आप मार्केट को लिबरलाइज कर दो उसकी वीआर इंटीग्रेशन कर दो पाकिस्तान की कोई टारगेट है 30% something like that. So basically this during that journey I would like to be physically in Pakistan and actually make an impact. That's what I see myself doing.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And to conclude, Rida, today's session, I would like to know, for the people who have been here listening to you, who have been there through the whole journey, and you have come across, what is the one lesson that you have learned from life that you would like to pass on to the others, and you believe that's the key for you right now? So, what is that one lesson which life has given you, which you would like to share?
Sir, I think for me, one life lesson is never giving up. Like not giving up, having like कोई जिंदगी में एक जरूर पैशन या टारगेट होना चाहिए which actually makes you like gives you the ability कि आप डेली अपने बेड से उठकर कोई काम कर सको like एक कुछ कुछ ऐसे एक bigger goal होना चाहिए लाइफ में. So that is something that I think I would like to have, because when you have that, you don't care about people, you don't care about what anybody thinks. You're there, you're doing your job, and you don't even like it's all for a greater good. So definitely there should be
Yeah,
something like that in mind. And sir, even
right.
for you, I think you
Now,
also have that. Like I'm sure you've had that passion. That's why you came back from Scotland and you're here in Pakistan. So that's also something I've learned from you.
yeah, I think that's the essence about people. A lot of people ask me the same question as well, and I say that whenever you go abroad for studies, now I've traveled the whole world virtually, and I find no better place than
Yes.
Pakistan to live and settle, and especially to contribute back to where your roots were. But then keep on making an impact if the world gives you an opportunity on the global scenario as well. Now, Rida, you have been a great ambassador of Pakistan. You have been a great ambassador for Fulbright, and I'm pretty sure this video will get viral in the Fulbright community as well. The
Yes.
success that you have brought in, and especially one message. Do you last word? Do you recall your Fulbright cohort friends? Do you think all of them, because that's a related question, all of them were high achievers, right? So are they making an impact? What's the Fulbright cohort that you remember or miss?
So I really miss them right now. They were literally my family in the US. So actually all of them are doing great stuff. Like some have become entrepreneurs. They're working in big organizations. Some have actually started off with their PhDs. But one thing that I found common in all of them was like having some form of passion, like goal in life, and that is one thing that has driven them to become so successful. So yeah, I really
Yeah,
miss
that's wonderful. Rida, thank you very much. It was an absolute pleasure having you on the DS Global live telecast that we had and discussions. I'm pretty sure this was just a small thing because we were interviewing you about your personal experiences in life, and as well as getting to know about your global experiences about energy markets. We'll definitely have some more sessions because I believe ab tak pet nahi bhara. There is so much
Thanks.
more to come.
There's so much more to learn from you as well. Like you are the energy guru of Pakistan. People don't know
I
that.
think next time around we will do some
Yeah,
sessions opposite way also.
yeah, exactly.
But thank you very much. I just want to tell you that your parents are are definitely one of the proud parents of Pakistan, and to have a daughter like this, God has blessed me with another son. But if there are daughters which are like you, it's what there's nothing better than becoming parents as well. And I'm pretty sure that your father, your parents, your mother will be proud of you, and keep on this journey. And we just wanted to let you know that whole Pakistan listening right now is proud of you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
having
you,
me.
and we'll continue on in the future sessions as well.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much, Rida. It was an
Thank you
absolute
so much.
pleasure having you here.
Likewise.